for joining. It's Austin with Inventory Source here. So this video today, what we're going to do is we're going to be going over Dropship Ultimate Guide. So this is a really big guide on just knowing everything there is to know about dropshipping. We have it on our Dropship Resource Center. You can find it at the bottom of our site. We're going to link it out in the description on this video. So don't worry about that. You want more details, you go into that. It's going to be available for you guys to look at. So today, I've got Travis here with me. He is our managing director here with Inventory Source. He has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to e-commerce, dropshipping, setting up websites, setting up different e-commerce businesses. So he's here to join us today. It's going to be great. Thanks for joining, Travis.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, of course. So we're just going to get started. Like I said, this Ultimate Guide is everything that you need to know about dropshipping. We're going to start out with the first chapter, and obviously the big thing here is what is dropshipping, right? So dropshipping, the life cycle, it's pretty easy stuff. I'm an e-commerce retailer. I want to sell, I got a knife, right? I want to sell this knife on my site, but I don't really have a warehouse. I don't have inventory. Right. I don't have anywhere to store it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my site. Customer's going to come in, he's going to purchase this product, and then after that, I'm actually going to grab the order of that product, place it with my supplier. My supplier is then going to ship it to my end customer. I'm never going to see the product. I'm just going to facilitate that, and what's going to happen is I'm going to mark up to make a little bit of margin on that product. So that's really what dropshipping is. You have a product, you sell it online, you place it with the supplier then ships it to the customer. So that's really just bare bones what dropshipping is and what that life cycle is.
Never physically holding it, never physically warehousing it. Your supplier owns it, and you're not ever touching it. It goes straight to your customer.
No, exactly. It's pretty easy stuff, but obviously, the big thing that a lot of people ask for the first thing when they hear about dropshipping and learn about it more is can you benefit from it, right? Is there any benefits to dropshipping? One of the biggest things when it comes to benefiting from dropshipping, and we talk about this a lot, is it's a very low risk, low cost kind of market to get into, right. To start selling, and flexible work, more independence, being able to sell more products. You don't want to buy in wholesale hundreds of units and it's like there goes thousands and thousands of dollars. It's a very low risk and easy way to start.
Testing new products, right? Mm-hmm. Testing a product that you might not know if it sells through. You might be selling a lot of one product wholesale. And you might want to try out a new product category, whatever it might be, a huge benefit to dropshipping.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this takes us to the next question is, obviously it's pretty easy to get started. Is it profitable? Would you say it's profitable?
It can be, and it's not necessarily a business model, right? It's a fulfillment system. It's a fulfillment actual model, right? So it can be profitable in the sense that you're just shipping an item in a certain way. Yeah. If the product has margin and you sell it for more than you bought it for, then it's profitable, right? Whether you're doing that through traditional retail and you're buying it wholesale and storing your own brick and mortar, or you're drop shipping, if you sell it for 10 and you bought it for 5 and the shipping cost nets out, it's profitable, right? So that's the big thing about dropship is kind of segmenting it from this build a business in a box kind of mentality to it's a certain way to fulfill a product. And it's a strategy really in retail rather than necessarily it is a whole business model in itself.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And then the big thing going off of that is you're still running your own business, right? It's not just a turn it on and you're going to make money just like that. Yeah. You got to do product analysis, still customer service. There's a lot that still just goes into doing dropshipping, but absolutely it is profitable. We see it with our customers. So one of the last things when it comes to talking about dropshipping in whole is where can you dropship? There's a handful of different outlets you can go and sell products in regards to dropshipping. Kind of the main two that you hear about is your own website. So Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, WordPress, WooCommerce, those are some of the giants in the space. And then, the biggest ones, the marketplaces, right? Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Jet, more and more marketplaces popping up left and right, that we see all the time. And, those are usually the outlets that you can sell on. So those are usually the big things when it comes to dropshipping, and that's kind of just big overview. What is dropshipping? That's the first chapter that we talked about in the Ultimate Guide. Another big part of dropshipping going into the second chapter is formalizing a legal dropshipping business. So I know, Travis, you can speak on this a little bit more. What does it take to legalize your business, start dropshipping? Is it
Sure.
hard to? Is it not? things like that.
So drop shipping, like you mentioned, it's so easy to just get started, get going, and create a business out of nowhere, right? You're not buying a retail shop, things like that. You're not having to invest in a lot of product. So a lot of people kind of forget that you have to actually start an actual legal entity, right? An actual business. Whether you choose LLC, incorporation, whatever it might be, that's completely up to you. But one thing that you're typically going to need is an EIN, right? In the U.S. from the IRS, you're going to need an EIN to just form the business. It's not always required, but it's a big part of it. And then the big thing too is a resale certificate in your state here in the U.S. I can't speak to actual, UK or Australia or other countries, but having a resale certificate basically allows you to sell items and purchase them, purchase them from a wholesale distributor, a true wholesale distributor who's selling to you in a B2B fashion, right? So they're selling to you at a discount from what that product's going to list for in a retail environment, and they're not charging you sales tax, right? So that's why a resale certificate is specifically around purchasing from a business without having the business have to charge you sales tax on it. So it's kind of working out for both of you there. So those are the two big things you really need. For the EIN, irs.gov is a place you're going to want to go for that. And the resale cert, each is individual to whatever state that you're in. You hear a lot about, do I need to have sales tax or do I need to charge sales tax in a certain state versus, I'm not located there. In Dropship, I don't have a location anywhere. I'm just on my computer, right where I live. I'm not going to try to give legal advice on where you're supposed to charge sales tax, and that's changing every single year. We hear about a new kind of law that might be coming out or did come out. So I would just say definitely do your research, check it out. But getting a EIN and getting a state resale tax for where you physically live and are incorporating your business is definitely the first steps.
Yeah. No, I agree, and there actually are some. This is kind of the main mold of actually owning your own business and having a legal dropshipping business. But from what we've heard and you guys have seen on all sorts of different videos, there are certain software applications out there or services that people provide where you can get access to products quick without having this. So I think we're going to hit on that a little bit more a little bit later, but I don't know if you can speak on that a little bit on being able, can you dropship even without this stuff, without an EIN, without a tax ID?
Yeah, I mean, you technically can. You can go. So for one thing, you can buy from a retailer, and you can do what's called arbitrage, right? And you can buy from really someone that's set up that is already paying a certain tax and is legal in their own right, and is not really giving you necessarily a discount and is charging you sales tax, right? So you can actually do this without purchasing or getting an EIN. However, you got to claim those profits, right? So I wouldn't recommend it. I would definitely say start your own business. People do it, but I would recommend that you do get a business before you start profiting, because that's going to have to go somewhere, right? Even if it's a sole proprietorship, which is the easiest way to get started. You go to irs.gov, you get your EIN under a sole proprietorship. It's simple, it's quick. You don't have to go and do all that other kind of stuff. You're going to need to legally, at least in the United States, be able to claim that profit that you're making in this business somewhere.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. So going off of that, obviously the next chapter that we have here, and this is huge. This is probably the biggest thing, is what do I sell online, right? So what products am I going to sell and everything that has to do with that. Going off of that, for what you want to sell online, what are you passionate about, right? It's great to sell things that might make sense. It's great to sell things that might be, profitable, that might, be a cool thing. It's a new niche, it's a new season. But, really the guys that do really good that we've seen with some of our customers is they know these products, right? They've done the product analysis. They're passionate about selling tactical gear or grocery or whatever it may be. So knowing the products is one of the biggest things that we've seen and that we hear that drives the business. You want to be passionate about that.
And real quick on that,
yeah,
there's a lot of debate about that one, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people online that say don't go and do a passion project, go where the money is, follow the money. Mm-hmm. And they say go do research on what is actually other people want to buy, and that's a fair argument. Right? If you have the time and you have the resources and the analytical skills to go and identify where there's demand and what you can source and what you think you might be able to sell for, that's a great strategy. A sustainable long-term business is about building a brand and knowing your products in and out and be able to find the niche forums or groups or whatever and be able to speak intelligently to it and add value from a customer service perspective. that's the part that builds a sustainable brand and builds trust in your company. So both work. I think more of the long-term building an actual business versus just turning highly demanded products is kind of what Austin's talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's a good point. But that takes me to the next point: is let's go back to what you were saying. Is that product niche, right?
Look at that segue.
Yeah, the buzz and the hype, right? So the buzz and the hype of a product. If I'm, right now we're doing this here in September, October, right? What's something that's everybody's thinking of right now? Costumes, right? Halloween's coming up, and then after that it's the holidays. What's going to make sense for selling that? So obviously some of these guys, they're going to want to sell costumes. Like, why not? Halloween season's coming. Let's get profit on that. That's a good thing to kind of keep in mind when you're starting. Like, what is the buzz? What's the hype? What's the season? What products are going to make sense there? Things such as what's been kind of all over the place.
I see fidget spinners here.
Yeah, fidget spinners. Maybe a unicorn T-shirt blasting off into space. You see some of this stuff all over the internet, quick, easy access to these products.
Flash in the pan kind of stuff. Talking about fidget spinners for sure.
Well, yeah, fidget spinners. I mean, we got hoverboards on here, right? I mean, was a huge thing. I don't know if it is now anymore, but stuff like that. I mean, you would say that's almost like the best way of getting started? Would you say maybe that's the best kind of outlet to go for those types of products, or should I just start out with my passionate products?
Well, there's going to be legwork up front, right? You're going to have to say, do I want to spend time investigating where is their demand, where can I source these types of products that are highly demanded, or do I want to spend time in building a brand around a outdoors retailer that carries the top brands that I know my customers are going to want, and then identify all the forums that I should be going and building relationships and promoting products and answering helpful questions, So it's really, it's up to you on how you want to approach that. I think every person's different. I think both the approaches have worked, and we've seen them both work. Just getting started, I think everyone has that kind of, they know in the back of their mind what feels more right to them.
Yeah.
What they want to do, what they feel like they're ready to do, right? What they feel like based on their skill set. Say someone doesn't really have any kind of analytical skills, doesn't really know any kind of good sourcing software to go evaluate demand or anything like that, but they are in every single outdoor and camping forum already because they're a huge camping nut, right?
Yeah.
So they have that specialty in their back pocket where they are already well positioned to go ahead and take advantage of that, right? You already know what people are talking about. People are already sharing the products that they use and taking pictures, and people are following you on your Instagram because you're always out traveling. Then you probably should go with that approach, right? If you're more analytical, you're tech savvy, you've already used stuff like Jungle Scout and things like that to analyze, and you just really get into the understanding the whole demand and what's selling and what's moving, then you probably want to go the other route.
That makes sense. And I think the last thing here, we hit on the target market, but it's the pricing of these products. I mean, how many times have we seen more than 2 or 3 middlemen coming from the manufacturer to where a point it's so saturated, or the market's so saturated for that product, or that product is just you're never going to make a margin on it compared to marketplace pricing or other niches. I mean, what's like a strategy there when it comes to finding the right products that are priced correctly?
The right
relationships
price.
Almost, right? For suppliers, building that relationship with real suppliers to get the best pricing.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 parts to that, right? How do you get a product that you can make money on, right? And so that's one. And the other is, what's the actual product price range that you're looking for, right? Like, should I be selling things that are super cheap because people are able to buy them really quickly and don't think about it? Or do I go for the super expensive? If you read around, people are going to say, do something around the $100 range or $80 range because it's enough to make a margin on. However, it's not, $200 and people are doing a ton of research, want to talk to someone on the phone, right? So there's that side too. Once you identify, I would say that's probably a fair thing to look at, whether it's $20 to and up. It's tough to make money in dropship under $20 items.
Yeah.
People can do it, right? But I think you should probably start with what you're saying. Identify the products, identify your approach, find where you can source the products, and then determine what the price range should be, right? So everyone has these ideas about what the specific, the perfect price should be. If you can buy an item for $1 and sell it for $5 and there's a ton of demand for it, go for it.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd say finding the product, finding the person that you want to source from in that target market that you've chosen is probably the first step, and then determine what makes sense from a margin perspective.
Yeah. Well, that's weird that you say that, because chapter 4 that we're coming up right now is how to find the best dropship
I feel like
supplier.
we've done this before.
I know. We're just segueing right into the perfect spot.
10 minutes.
Okay, so finding the dropship supplier, right? Where do we go?
Yeah.
How do we find it? Google? Is that it? Just go in there and just
Yeah, well, that's one way.
find it?
That's one way.
What else
if
is
you
out
do,
there?
you'll probably find us at the top. So go ahead and Google and click our link. But no, seriously, SaleWho, I'm going to go ahead and say they're a great company that has their whole model is about providing access to a bunch of dropship suppliers who, and not only dropshippers but wholesalers. Showing the contact information where they're at. It's a directory model, right? So that's great. They don't show products, they don't show pricing, but they show a lot and a ton of different suppliers out there. Worldwide Brands has been around forever. You can tell by their website, and they are one of those that don't charge you monthly, which is great. It's a lifetime kind of thing, which is tough to find nowadays. Same as SaleWho, from what I understand. We had an account at one point. I don't know where it is, but. But yeah, exactly, and it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure which one's better, but those are two options. Those are two big names in finding suppliers and those paid directories out there. Obviously, there's a ton of other random web pages. I've seen people just put up a web page because they want to rank for it, so they'll give you just a quick list. Even BigCommerce, I think, has a list on their blog. What else? I've seen a spreadsheet going around, so there's a ton out there. We obviously at IS Inventory Source, we've got a directory of who we're integrated with, right? So it's only about 190 suppliers right now because we only put the ones that we're integrated with in our directory, but it's the only one you're going to find, one, for free, and two, that has a full product feed of the entire catalog to be able to search by, the UPC, the brand, all that kind of stuff. Even SaleWho, Worldwide Brands, they don't have the full product feed. They've got a couple example products, I think. And we don't even charge, right? They charge for theirs. But those are a couple options you got, right? You can check ours out. If you want to expand past just who we're integrated with, check out SaleWho, Worldwide Brands, and just Google search.
Okay, so finding a supplier, we're kind of pointing our direction of, maybe Google search. Let's go find these directories, right? SaleWho's a directory, Inventory Source, we have a supplier directories for free. You have to pay, whatever it is. Directories are kind of a great place to start. Now, whenever I do find these suppliers, right, let's say I find 5, 6 of them, now evaluating these suppliers,
Right.
what are we going to do to evaluate the supplier in essence? Obviously, we've already talked about product pricing. That's kind of a big thing there. But, things that I can think of on the top of my head is where they're located, right? Shipping times, customer service, right? These guys, maybe they're just doing drop shipping to make a quick buck, so they're going to give you awful service because they're true wholesalers. Another thing is wholesalers versus purely drop shippers versus manufacturers that drop ship. There's all those different types. I mean, what's some of the top, evaluation, I guess, data points that you would look at for picking your right supplier that you want to work with?
Sure, and I'll definitely go through those. One thing before I forget, though, that's a good asset that I didn't mention: trade show websites and exhibitor
right.
lists,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
you're going to find that's probably the best because it's a legitimate company. So I want to make sure we got that in there. Evaluating dropship suppliers, right? So there's the brand, the manufacturer, right? The start of it, the Nikes, the Adidases, right? There's a distributor, the names you probably don't really know, you've never heard of because they're kind of between the brand as the logistics and kind of the distribution side. And as a consumer, you're not going to know about them. And then you've got the retailers, right? So when evaluate them, you obviously, if you go straight to the brand, that's great. If you can go straight to Nike today and say, I want to buy your shoes from you at the lowest possible cost, that's great if you can do it. However, that's usually not the case. They sell to distributors, that's their model, or they sell direct to consumer. So you need to go through a distributor. So you can find distributors for a certain brand by going to the brand's website. And a lot of brands will list out, here's where you can buy our products for our business customers. Two things to consider with this when you evaluate them. Brands, even if you do find a brand that is willing to sell to you directly, typically they don't have the logistical capacity, right? The warehouses and the pick, pack, and ship staff, or particularly the technology either, right? Like the ability to provide live inventory feeds, to accept automated orders, things like that. So you're definitely going to want to ask more questions when you're talking to a brand about what you need from them from a technology and fulfillment side. And then the distributors usually have that. It's usually their value. However, they make their money on marking up the product. So you still need to evaluate, is there margin there? So that's the first step is there margin in the product? If you need automation, right, and you're going to be sending a lot of orders, you're going to need inventory counts up to date, you're going to need someone that can provide that for you, right?
Yeah.
So that's the second question. How can I send orders? How do you allow me to send your orders? Do you provide an inventory feed, right? Some of these guys, if you're just selling one big, whiteboard that's a digital whiteboard and it's highly demanded and they always have in stock, it's a manufacturer, you don't need an inventory feed. You don't need to know if it's in stock, they'll have it ready to go for you. And you're only doing 5 to 10 orders, you can manually place those, right? If you're selling a large catalog with a lot of smaller items that they're selling to a bunch of other people, you don't want to sell stuff out of stock, so you're going to want an inventory feed. You should ask about that. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So with that, looking at the feed quality, right? If it's a large catalog and you're selling a lot of products, do they have images, titles, descriptions? They provide a feed in general, like we just said. From a competitive standpoint, do they have a MAP policy, right? Minimum advertised price. Do they say that I'm going to sell you this whiteboard for $100, right? This digital whiteboard, and you can sell it for whatever you want. We'll say the suggested retail price is $200, right? Mark it up 100%, but don't sell it for less than $150 because I don't want it, degrading my brand. I don't want you undercutting all my other dealers. That $150 is the MAP price, right? So a lot of times you're going to want a supplier that has a MAP price because it's not the wild west and people are just selling that for $1, $100 and $1 margin on top just to get traffic, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a big part too. Do they have MAP policy? Is it going to be crazy out there when it comes to trying to sell it among all the other dealers? And yeah, I think that's kind of the main. What did I miss?
I think that's a big thing. Dropship suppliers, there's a lot of different ways of evaluating it. And it makes sense for who the customer is, right? You might have a customer that doesn't really care. You don't have to give me great customer service. Just give me good products and being able to sell it. Obviously, the big thing, maybe we didn't go into too much detail, is shipping times. Obviously, right. Big thing is, our director is mainly U.S. suppliers, so that's a huge deal for getting, handling time down to 1 day, and then making sure that products are shipped out within 2 or 3. Right? You want to give that good customer experience, and the amount of things you see out there using Chinese suppliers and stuff like that. We'll hit on that a little bit later, but shipping times can be crazy. We talked about that, so that's another evaluation key point. I think that's about it, though. I think that's a good foundation of what we want to do for identifying dropship suppliers, and then segueing into our chapter 5 and our pricing strategies. We now have a supplier that we want to sell products, right? This is a great product. This is going to sell great. How are we going to price it? Are we gonna mark it up? Are we gonna mark it down? Are we gonna do things off of MSRP that we've seen? Are we gonna do minimum advertising price markups? Are we doing percentages? Are we doing dollars? Like, how are we gonna price this to make sure that we hit our shipping costs and we're making money? Because that's a big thing here at dropshipping. It's great to move products, but you want to make money. It's a business, right? So pricing strategies. What we've seen is markups off of wholesale. We have pricing rules with our software. We have other softwares that do a lot of pricing strategies. What do you see as maybe the most common?
Well, yeah, you start talking about software really is when you have a large catalog of a lot of products.
That's right.
Selling, right?
That's right.
So if the whiteboard example, if you have one product, you go Google search, check out Google Shopping ads, check out other websites, and you see this is what I should probably sell it for.
Marketplaces.
Yeah, and especially if you're not adding a lot of value from a brand perspective, which a lot of guys getting started, and just in dropship in general. If you're not an established retailer, you're probably not adding a lot of value from a brand perspective. What I mean by that is people don't go to your website first to look for a specific product. They don't say Office Depot is where I shop because they're reliable. I love their live chat feature, right? So that's like having a brand. You can kind of charge a premium there. So if you can't do that, really it's about just aligning with the market and just pricing it individually and manually, right? So that's if it's one. But if you have a large catalog and you're syncing with the inventory feed, and you've got thousands of products you're selling from a distributor, which is whole nother model of dropship, and one that we support pretty well with our software. That's where we have our tools go and play and say, okay, you're getting it bought at a certain price, mark it up 20%, 30%, 40% for wholesale, because I know that if I can sell it for that, then I'm going to make the margin to cover what I need. We've got a tool where you can actually add certain, if it's a certain weight, add another $1 to every product, if it's between 0 and 5 pounds, and all these different kind of tweaks, and really it's different for every person. But the takeaway here is 1 product, 2 products, 3 products, you can look at it, manually do it. You start getting into a dozen, maybe 100 or so, you're going to need software to kind of auto price that for you. Ours kind of goes off a calculation you set. There's also repricers out there. If you've heard the term repricer, it's typically
Yeah, I've heard of that. What do we got going on there?
What is that now?
I mean, people say, hey, I want a repricer. I want everything to be automated. I've heard of the different companies, but like, what does it actually do? Like, no idea.
So typically when you hear that, it's about repricing your product almost exclusively. You're going to hear about Amazon, right? Doing it on Amazon. You're trying to win the buy box. That's like the most common thing you hear about repricing is, I want to go ahead and change my pricing on the same product on Amazon so that I'm the lowest, so I win the buy box more often, right? There's other ones where you can actually reprice your website based on whether it's Amazon numbers or there's other scrapers out there that will scrape for that product. They pull from different sources. So, there's different ways. I think that's if you're selling on marketplaces, that's a pretty good strategy. We've seen people do really well with it. If it's just this high volume, low margin kind of game where you're just trying to win as much of the demand as possible. The last part of it real quick before we move on. So if they do have MAP, we talked about MAP, minimum advertised price, that's a pretty reliable anchor to use on how to price a product, right? So we see a lot of times if they have MAP, almost everyone's probably selling right at MAP or right over it. MSRP is not as reliable, right? The manufacturer suggested retail price. It's a lot of times that's just in the wind. Hey, sell it for this, sell it for that. You can't really build a strategy off that as well. MAP is usually a more firm metric to go off.
I've seen that a lot too. MSRP is kind of like a suggested. Here you go. This sounds right. You know. No, but I agree with you. MAP. MAP. It hinders some people, which we've seen is some people. Man, I want to sell below MAP. You're like you've said. There can be issues there with the brands, but if they have MAP, that is a good sign. That's a good point that you bring up. So going off of that, this is our chapter 6 in the Ultimate Guide, and this is a really important one. There's a lot of videos out there that say dropshipping, you're not going to make any money, right? I've seen it, I've researched it. They're just like, dropshipping's a scam, don't do it. And then you see videos out there that says start dropshipping, you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen it all. Obviously,
this is not one of those videos.
This is not one of those videos, and that was another thing I wanted to preface this is people say we're the dropshipping guru and we do this and we're going to sell you this class for hundreds of dollars for you to be a dropshipping expert. Well, guess what? There's not much I need to know. You want to watch this video, we're going to teach you how to do it because we've been in the business for a long time. But going off of that, there are scams out there, right? There are some dropshipping scams. Have you heard of any of these? Have you seen them? Are they all over the place, or they're just some? You don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah, scam is tough. That's what you're going to hear it being referred to as. But we got to come back to dropship as a fulfillment model, right? It's a fulfillment method. Building a business is a separate thing. It's too often you see dropship get intertwined with this in-the-box kind of business that can be perceived as a scam, right? And what people are mostly talking about when we talk about a dropship scam is basically saying, they're not a true wholesale distributor. And when we say that a true wholesale distributor is someone that warehouses products in their warehouse and have bought it wholesale from a brand or manufacturer at a discounted rate and is willing to sell to you at a discounted rate compared to the retail price, right? The list price in the market. So that's a true wholesaler. A dropship scam can be considered someone that is not actually warehousing any of that, is not providing you a discount, is providing you at the same retail price, charging you something on top that doesn't add any value. That's where I think people bring up scam, is not adding any value. Where it gets a little hairy here though is that the models are shifting so much in e-commerce and retail in general that there is value that can be added that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be warehousing, logistics, and fulfillment, right? And when it comes to high volume dropship, right, and large product catalog dropship, data, there's a premium on data. There's companies out there, Eagle Eyes, IceCat, there's companies out there that just sell the data for products, right? Because a lot of these dropship distributors, they're great at fulfillment, they're great at the relationships they have with the brands and the network they have with the retailers, but they don't have all the images of the products, they don't rewrite descriptions, they don't have it categorized or in an organized format or specs exactly,
variations,
right?
You see it every day.
Not having products available in a feed that allow you to easily map sizes and colors to a website ready format variations, right? Yeah. So there's a premium on data. So just because a company doesn't actually warehouse products doesn't mean they're a scam. As long as you can, once again, as long as you can make money, if you can buy it for $5 and sell it for $10, and there's a margin in between there, then it's not necessarily a scam. But you do need to look out for people that are trying to sell access to things that you never would want, and it really just comes down to there's no value in it, right? So as long as there's value, it doesn't matter if they warehouse or they don't warehouse. In this day and age, if there's value in it, whether it's access to the products, better data, marketing tools, whatever it might be, I wouldn't call it a scam.
Yeah, I see it more so with some of these guys and some of the people we've talked about in the business and in this market is the kind of like what you're saying. They're selling a service, like they're making the money off of saying, hey, join my dropship program for $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it may be, and they're marking up the price off of a already marked up price, so there is no margin there. Guys go in, they pay out, for 3 months to get access to products, don't even make a dime, right? And almost in essence, that's almost the most popular scams I feel like I've seen. So
and that was our big concern with starting IS Direct. Was that I was like, I do not want this a scammy kind of program, right? So we looked at it and we said, how do we start something that is valuable and will make sense? And our model and our approach was, let's give IS Direct as far as access to the products for free. Let's mark it up to the point of we break even every month and not try to profit off the sales, and really just be a way for people to get started using our main revenue driver, our software, inventory source, right? So, I think that was a big thing for us, and adding the value of access to products, not only from the retailer side that they don't want to go through a 4-week onboarding with whatever customer. We just got done with a podcast with UNFI, and he was pitching IS Direct. He said, it takes us 4 weeks to get someone on board. You get them on board in a day, right? So adding value in that and access to products that you can quickly test and get up on your store, right? Adding access to products that you might not have got approved in the first place. Better structured data, and the big thing that we added was the shipping costs, right? Fixed shipping costs. So we're going to talk about here, I think, in one of these slides, but providing fixed rate shipping costs when a good portion of our suppliers that we have in IS Direct don't. And we are taking the risk on, right, which is the value of saying we think that more often than not we'll probably break even, maybe lose some money on this transaction, maybe make some money. We'll add a little bit of a margin to cover credit card costs and the risk of shipping, and then look to break even. And so that was our approach to all right, here's value, here's value, here's value. We don't warehouse anything as of right now, today. Talking about it. We gotta get another office, who knows, maybe we'll get a third one, right? But it's all about the value, right? It's not a scam if you can get value out of it.
Yeah, totally agree. And obviously, we've seen it all here, talked to a lot of people about it. So, really to take this full circle, that was chapter 6, avoiding dropshipping scams, talking about that. Chapter 7, our last chapter, is managing all of this, right? So managing your inventory from inventory that you don't have, right? This is dropshipping, you don't have this inventory, but managing it, managing your orders, and then really managing everything in between, right? I mean, there's so much that goes into e-commerce. It's not just get a website up front, get a supplier, you're good to go, right? There's a little bit more to it. One of the big discussions here, and it's managing, let's start with the inventory side of things. So managing the dropshipping inventory side of things. Are you able to do it manually? Are you able to do it in an automated fashion, right? We talked about this, like you just said, the guy that's selling those whiteboards, right? It's a very niche product. You're selling it. There's no need to automate it because it's always going to be in stock, right? There's no need to automate that inventory. You might need to automate the product data. Might need to automate the orders if it's a really high volume. But people can get away with it manually there, especially if you have teams, right? If you have a whole business and you have a whole team that can manage it, if that's your model, go for it. But then, versus the automation side of things, automation makes it easy for you to focus on marketing, SEO, customer service. I mean, a lot of things that have to do with it. So, what do you think about manual versus automation? The downfall maybe of doing it manually compared to automated? What's some
you'll know really quick if you need to automate something, right? Like you'll know once you pick your business model, once you pick the approach you're taking, you'll say, all right, this is fine. I never need to worry about inventory and orders I can place, whatever. The second you're downloading a spreadsheet every day from your supplier and uploading it and reformatting it, or trying to look for a developer on Upwork or wherever it might be, Fiverr, who knows, then you'll go, wow, I'm sure there's software that does this better. So you'll know pretty quick, and it's really one of the other on your model.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then we'll get into here in the next little bit about the different softwares in our space and just kind of going over that, giving you some more information on that. But staying on that same type of topic is, us talking through it. This is a data problem, right? This is a data. I wouldn't say a problem, but just everything that has to do with data, because it's e-commerce, right? It's not me owning a store and you want your baseball bats, here you go, they're hung up on the wall, right? They pick and choose, buy it, get out of here, kind of. I mean, obviously better customer service than that, but it's a data pain point, right? We help out with it, a lot of softwares help out with it. That's probably one of the biggest things there. I mean, just passing data.
Yeah. And it's the evolving landscape of retail and e-commerce. That data is now our CEO says it a lot, and I really like this. It used to be an inventory management problem. You used to buy something on a pallet, it would sit in the back of your brick and mortar in your warehouse, and you had now inventory management. And then if it didn't sell, you now had a problem, right? And now it's, if you're drop shipping, and whether you're still doing that and then you're just mixing in drop shipping, the problem is that you don't have it in your warehouse, you don't have your brick and mortar, you can't see it. You have to rely on partners, a partner network that is running your business. And so you have to get images, you have to get quality data, you have to trust them for it, and they have to trust them that their feed is going to be up to date with accurate quantities. So there's a lot more trust you put in your partners with Dropship. That's why it's so important on how to find a good one, and it's so important to rely on the data that goes back and forth, or be able to rely, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. So from an ordering perspective, what does this look like? Is it, is manual fine? Is automation better?
Before I got into e-commerce, I was like, well, I don't even understand why this is a problem. You just send them an order, right?
Yeah.
But once you get into e-commerce, you realize, in B2B e-commerce, you realize that you have to transfer that information to them, and it needs to be, in the right, they need to be accepted in the right format, right? You have to copy and paste your customer's address, because they're not going to get it. You came into your Shopify store, BigCommerce store, whatever, but you need to get it to them, right? I mean, if you're just selling on B2C on a website, orders are easy, right? All the information comes in through a portal because you force them to go through a form, your checkout process. It's different when you need to send that to a distributor, a brand, or whoever your source is. So getting that data over to them, if you're doing, we've got customers doing 10,000 orders in 1 month, you're not manually copy and pasting that stuff, put it in an email, doing whatever. You're having your Shopify store, your Magento store automatically put in a format that's ready for your distributor to accept. It's going into their system. You're not having a manual intervention of an account manager or account rep manually enter into their system, right? So that is one of those things that can save a ton of time, a ton of effort. It can save you human resource cost, right? You can have one person just dedicated to pulling tracking numbers and updating it back. But it's something that should and can be, fairly automatic.
Yeah, I agree. And then the last thing there on the ordering side of things is how do they accept orders? There's millions of different ways. If you're calling in orders, right? We see those suppliers. Just give us a call. Give us a place an order. That's great, but you're getting 10,000 orders a month. Emailing's gonna be crazy, all that stuff. So yeah, and understanding, that's a huge thing, is understanding, like we talked about, is how do they take orders.
Something to touch on there. A lot of these suppliers, right? And there's a shift, and technology is there, but a lot of times the process, the people, is what takes so long to get to this new shift of retail.
Absolutely.
So it's expensive for these distributors to accept automated orders. EDI, you've heard that term. I'm sure you may have heard that term. They may tell you the first time you talk to a distributor that you need to send in orders via email or call in. You should still ask, is there a way to do it automated? That, if I get to high order volumes, what's the next step here? A lot of them do have that, but they want you to have a certain order volume before they are going to spend resources to set up the tech side to be able to accept those orders. So that's something to just keep in mind. It's expensive to just do that before you send them one order. So if it's a requirement, definitely ask before blowing off someone who says we take them over email.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. And going off of that, we're starting to shift towards talking about software. We're starting to shift about talking about data. We covered what is drop shipping. We covered, how to get started, how to evaluate, look at products, everything that, you need to know to get started for drop shipping. and then now we're getting into how to make it easier, right? So there's a lot of software companies out there. Obviously, you know us, Inventory Source, we help out from a software perspective in a specific part of dropshipping. We'll first start with, who has the products, right? We talked about this. I mean, you have manufacturers, you have the wholesale distributors, you have aggregators, which we kind of talked about. You could, think of Adobe as an aggregator, Oberlo using AliExpress. I mean, in essence, IS Direct as an aggregator, working with some of the top suppliers. So you have all these different, spectrum of who has products and how to get access to products pretty quick. That's pretty easy. We already talked about that. Now, where to sell, we talked about this pretty easily too, right? You have your website. So our top 4 that we talked about: Shopify, BigCommerce, WordPress, WooCommerce, Magento. Those are usually top 4. 3D Cart, Volusion is a big one. They're revamping a lot lately too. Volusion's really doing some good stuff. And then the marketplaces, you see Amazon, Walmart, Jet, eBay. We're now you see Wish getting big. You see little just like these. What is it, like a niche marketplace almost now that are starting to get bigger and bigger. I mean, what do you have to say on where to sell? Like, what's your top platforms, marketplaces? Like,
there's usually 2 types of online retailers out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some overlap, but there's usually like the marketplace guru who knows how to just hustle on Amazon and might do some dabbling in Walmart as well, and maybe some Jet. And then there's I know how to build a brand. Sell on my actual website using Shopify, Volusion, BigCommerce, whatever it might be. And then there's some guys that do a little bit of both, right? But like you can really kind of bucket in those 2 because they're 2 different businesses. Selling on a marketplace, you have the audience. Amazon has done a ton to get you the audience already, and so has Walmart.
Absolutely.
So it's about competing and winning that buy box. We talk about that. Where building a brand is a lot more of a slower process, more sustainable, maybe long term. You own more of what you're doing there if you're building it on your own website versus kind of being one small fish in a big pond kind of with Amazon. But yeah, there's 2 different approaches. I'd say, people ask, and we've done consulting for just friends that are getting into this and just like consulting with customers. It's really about, just trying out what feels natural to you. What do you think you're more apt to do and do well based on your skill set, your unique skill set. So you've got those options. Marketplace, you can try out both of them at the same time. I recommend getting good at one, maybe dabbling in the other one once you get a little bit bigger and better. But yeah, there's really those 2 big ones we see, and people pick them based on what they think they're good at and can get off the ground.
So going off of that, talking about software, talking about websites, marketplaces, all these different tech companies that are gonna let you sell these products and make it easy. Let's stay on that make it easy side of things, right? Websites, your easiest are going to be Shopify and BigCommerce. Those are very simple stuff to get started up, pretty easy cost. If you prefer being a little bit more customizable and can work with a lot of different stuff, Magento is a big thing. WordPress, WooCommerce, you got to be a little bit more.
There's a ton of differences when it comes to a hosted platform versus open source platform like Magento, WooCommerce, and I think we're going to get into that in our next series.
That's right.
So Dropship e-commerce store. I think we'll get into that and keep this kind of high level, but there's a ton of options. One of the biggest questions people ask is what platform should I use, and we've got a full probably 30-minute video on that coming up.
We're going to be doing that, and we'll hit on that. That's probably going to be one of our next videos. We're actually going to do a bunch of cool series about different videos on like what we're going to do for educating on the supplier side of things, on building your website, and we're probably going to have some more people. And maybe you'll come back. I don't know. Maybe I'll get you back in this video.
Come back to the next one. I wrote that one.
I know you will. But that's going to be a big thing. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But who makes it easier to help out with this data issue? Right? We have.
Are we plugging ourselves out here?
I mean, a little bit, right? So obviously, you guys know we work for Inventory Source, and we help automate feeds from suppliers to hook up with your specific website you're selling on, your marketplaces, even if you're using a multi-channel platform, which we connect with as well. A Seller Active, a Trade Gecko, a Channel Advisor, Stitch Labs, Ecom Dash, a lot of these different guys in the realm. We make that connection pretty easy, and we have a lot of awesome rules from an inventory perspective as well as an ordering perspective, making it easier. what else goes on top of that though? I mean, what do you have any say on, maybe other guys out there that are either like us? I mean, I know we don't really want to do that, but that are kind of like us.
Yeah, I would say it's tough when you get into this world and you start trying to figure out what software you should use.
I hear about it every day.
Because not even us, obviously, no one solves all the use cases you're looking for, but you should look for what's important to your business and what makes you different and what software best fits you because of that. That's the best advice I can give, because there's so much overlap in what we do versus what like an e-com dash does, but we still have people that use both of us at the same time. Same thing with like Doba, right? People compare us to Doba, but it's like, well, Doba has this huge catalog. We have the automation tools, so there's a lot of value. That's like one of our top integrations.
Absolutely,
Doba,
huge.
And they were considered a competitor for so long, but we're probably better partners than that. So I mean, I would say, luckily, we're in a world where there's a ton of free trials in the SaaS environment. It's worth testing out things, talking to these account managers, going on YouTube like you're on right now, and trying to figure it out. But there's a ton of overlap, and I'm not envious of trying to figure out what software you need to use.
No, man.
Hopefully, we're getting to the point. Hopefully, a lot of those, we're going to try to bolt on a lot of what we do to solve a lot of those use cases. But once again, because we focus on dropship, we're going to be able to solve a lot of the dropship of your business. If you do more than that, you're always going to use us, and we're going to have open APIs to connect with other software. And that's the last thing I'll say about that is, with this new open API kind of world, you can use one software, have another piece of software, connect it.
See it all the time.
That's probably one of the best approaches you can take.
See it all the time, absolutely. So, some final thoughts here. We went over what dropshipping is. We went over, where you want to source products from, what suppliers you want to utilize, where you want to sell it, marketplaces, websites, who makes it easier, and everything in between, right? This is everything you need to know. Greatest thing about this video, it's for free. Go on YouTube, look at it. This is literally cut and dry. Everything you need to know about dropshipping and really getting started. Don't go waste your money spending thousands of dollars watching some guru's video.
Comment in the YouTube comments, go to our Facebook page, comment, tell us what you want to learn, what you want to know more about. We'll make a video about it. We're just getting started with a lot of these. We've done some other videos, but we want to do more of an open kind of approach and let us know what you want to learn about. And we've been doing this for a while. We talked to thousands of customers, and we're happy to kind of put together this information for you.
Yeah. So thanks guys for watching this. Like I said, be on the lookout for a lot of these other videos that we're going to come out with. For instance, how to start an e-commerce website and everything that goes into building your website itself. That's going to probably be the next one on board for us, and we're probably going to have definitely a handful after that. So obviously, big thing. This is our Dropshipping Ultimate Guide. This is a resource that we put out in the public on our site for anybody to read. There's more details on our website for this guide. We want you to go through, read all the chapters, get used to everything there is to know about dropshipping. We'll have it maybe posted in this video somewhere or down here on the description, whatever it may be. But definitely go check that out. Other than that, that's about it.
Cool.
I mean, I think we hit on everything. Yeah. Let's go get a refill. Thanks for joining, Chaz. Appreciate it.
Yeah, bud.